All right, well, let's get into the last piece of PS5 news, which is, and we always get attacked on the podcast when we talk about backwards compatibility.
Get off the podcast.
It's only that Sony hasn't been extremely definitive about backwards compatibility. They've said it's 99% of games, it's the majority of their games, and they've now, which is really cool, on their support page, released a list of every single game that won't work on the PS5. That is a PS4 game. And everyone's like, oh, who cares? These games no one even knows about. Only thing is, I've actually talked about this one game, Shadow Complex Remastered. I've talked about that game multiple times.
Yeah,
I've got it on the PS4. And it's like the one game right? I would have definitely played on the PS5. And it doesn't work. So it's unplayable for me, totally. The PS5. No, but it's cool that like they've released this list. It's the weird thing about it is though, and I've got it in the video, if you check out the YouTube stream, they actually also say that do not buy DLC for PS4 games until you've booted the PS4 game and tried it out. Like, if you actually read their statement, it's bizarre. And to me, what it sounds like what they've done is they've literally got some poor sod or some poor team to go through one by one and play every game that they can on the PS5, all the PS4 games on the PS5, seeing if they boot and work to some level and then just quit out of them. Because it seems like, why would they make a statement saying that there might be errors and make sure that the game works?
Yeah, I mean,
before buying any DLC?
It makes sense because it's almost, dare I say, impossible to test those games properly. You assume it does, much in the same way that I suppose you can assume that if you change the CPU and a couple of other parts on your computer, it should still work. You should still be able to play your games because the architecture supports that. But you're never going to know if it works 100%. There could be so many weird little glitches, bugs, and game-breaking bugs as well. So, and you can't go through your entire collection, test it end to end. And I assume they probably haven't put in a certification in place where developers, retroactively go through and give their tick of approval that their game is supported. So
they don't need to do anything.
It's supposed to work out of the box, but you're a company that is relatively risk adverse to some extent, and like any business, you need to put an asterisk in there for legal reasons, so you don't get sued because someone spent $100 in DLCs only to find out that this big bug stopped them from being able to play the game. So it makes sense that they would make comments like that. But it's weird that those games do not work. Is there a reason exactly why they don't?
Yeah, that's the thing that, I don't think people have really figured it out yet, and I don't think you will know until you get the console in your hands. But because there might be more games,
have to be more games.
And I'm pretty adamant that they've just worked this out by trying to boot all the games, because everyone sort of thought that it would be like the games with the weird accessories and things like that wouldn't work. But a lot of those games do work because the way their PlayStation 5 works is you can plug in the PS4 accessories, but they only work for PS4 games.
What about stuff like my G920 driving wheel and stuff? Do you think that it won't work on PS5 titles?
So yes, so it's kind of weird. They have said for certain accessories, so things like that, like I can't remember how they described it, but it's effectively like niche accessories. So a lot of fight sticks. And then joysticks, but flight ones or like steering wheels. Supposedly they're going to work for the most part. They've got a list.
But what about steering wheels? Will they work? So, do they have a list of that somewhere?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like those kind of niche accessories, it sounds like they will work. It's more specifically the third-party game pads or the actual DualShock 4 will not work for PS5 games, which is kind of funny because in some cases it's better to buy. I don't think that, because that's the other thing that they've mentioned, that they said that the way that PS4 works, and it's so much worse than Xbox, if you have, for the most part, if you have an Xbox One game, I can go buy in eBay Games in Australia, Xbox One game, and then get my Xbox Series X and just put the disc in and it will just work, right? The way it works with PlayStation is so bizarre. If you've bought it digitally on the PS4, you have to search for it on the PS5 store and then download it, and it's got this thing of hey, you either have to pay an amount or it's a free upgrade. And then if you get the disc, it's sort of like the same process. It's just weird, man. It's kind of not very seamless.
It'd be interesting to see how they,
compared to
once they come out, assuming I can get my hands on an Xbox One Series.
Yeah.
Sorry, Xbox Series X. Far out.
X.
I know it's a cliche.
I listen to a stack of gaming podcasts.
It doesn't come out of
terrible name.
My mouth properly, and it's hard to remember the 1 and the series and the X's and the S's and the E's and the anyway.
Yeah, I honestly wish they just called it Xbox 4
like that,
or Xbox 5 and just skip. Like, I actually wouldn't mind if they just skipped to Xbox 4 and just call it Xbox 5. It's like PS5, Xbox 5. Okay. Like, if you're a mum and a dad, you just know what it is then. It's like, oh, you get the Xbox
you guys
One
covered
or you get
this,
the PS.
right?
Right now, it's like...
So, yeah.
Yeah, we have. And it's just like... The fact that people in gaming media always stuff it up. Like, I'm listening to them and then they go, oh, and the Xbox One X, blah, blah, blah. And then they don't even correct each other because it's just like... They don't even realize. Yeah. You know, it's so common. But... You know, look, I commend Sony because everyone was really nervous about, you know, how would this land? A lot of people were ultra confident it wouldn't be an issue. You know, they haven't had a great track record with backwards compatibility. And, you know, the fact that it's only a very, very small list, I think it was like 99.75% of games will work. So, and these aren't huge heavy hitters. These are certainly not in the top, you know, let's say probably even 300 or 400 selling games on the console. So, I think they've done a really good job here, and it sounds like they'll keep trying to improve it. So I wouldn't even be shocked if some of these games
but I think ultimately it's not just
like
will they boot; it's what happens once they boot. Are there any other weird bugs and glitches that you encounter that will completely break the game?
And they have said that there will be. There will be weird errors and stuff like that in some games. So that's also where it's going to be interesting on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that when people start playing these older games, specific titles, and they don't work. But that happens on Xbox as well.
Happened
that happens
within the generation. If you look at something like Dark Souls, I think it was Dark Souls 3 when that came out. Sweeney would know this much better, or 2. Even though I played the games multiple times, I didn't have this particular issue as much. There was an issue with when they increased the frame rate. Actually, it might have been the remake of the original. When they increased the frame rate to 60 FPS, it would cause weapons to degrade really quickly, and double the speed.
Yeah, like double the speed, right?
Double the speed in theory. I don't remember if it actually turned out to be realistically double the speed, but it was way faster, and that's an interesting bug that you could kind of imagine little things like that might happen with this. So, you know, when I was seeing the performance boosts of the Xbox Series X, you know, being able to play a whole bunch of games at 60 FPS that would run way lower on current generation, it got me thinking about stuff like that. Are there things that are frame rate bound in their calculations that end up, you know, screwing up because of that?
It's a really common thing. Like, it happened a lot with old DOS games when people started getting really powerful Pentium computers, and certain things like the games would be uncapped. So it'd just like be running at like 300 frames a second. You can't even play it. And just on Xbox, so Microsoft are talking about actually it's a pretty cool idea. I really like it. Cause some games are capped at 30 frames a second. So it's kind of annoying because you get those games, then you have this powerful system and it's still running at 30. So they're doing some stuff in the back end where they're going to force the game to run at an uncapped level, right? Now, the only problem with that is it's to your exact point. It's like maybe they've coded these games
there'll be some that
30,
do that, for sure.
So then who knows what the downstream impacts on doing stuff like this. Like maybe you'll get through a game and the mission can't start because certain time
or bosses shoot twice as fast because... I don't know. Yeah.
And again, like, I'm a bit of a purist. I like playing the games generally on where they came out on. So, like, I'm always a big fan of keeping the console rather than, you know, trading it in and everything like that. Because, it just bothers me. I mean, look at the Shadow Complex thing. Just to, go back to what we're talking about. It's like... So. I know. I love that game. That game is so underrated.
Love that game. I think I clocked it twice.
And... it's so annoying to me because they've actually done the map for Shadow Complex 2. Like, they have it all done.
Don't look at it.
But they haven't, made the game yet.
Spoilers.
Yeah. No, they haven't published it. But yeah, I'm just like so bummed out that they actually have that game ready to go, basically, to start producing. It'll probably take a year to do. So
there's plenty of stuff in between. I mean, you know, obviously Cyberpunk right around the corner. That's going to keep busy for a while. Rocket League.
Well, it's also like so many, Metroidvanias that are.
There's
out
a lot.
there,
Yeah, I've
so,
been playing. We'll talk about it in a bit, but I've been playing a few recently, actually.
Yes. All right. Let's get into some Nintendo news.